I'd like to talk to you today about this painting called Harassed, which I painted in 1984, many years ago. But it seems particularly relevant and germane today. Uh, it depicted on a symbolic level the reality that I was experiencing, though I didn't set out to do any sort of like a political painting or anything like that. I just painted the picture, and it wouldn't be till years later that I would really start to understand what I had expressed symbolically. Uh, but yeah, my name is Leonard Koziansky. Welcome to my studio. I'm talking about kind of an important issue for a lot of men out there who find themselves trapped in this very confusing world, and yet they're accused of being oppressive, of being misogynists, of being, structurally oppressive and evil towards women. And, it can be very confusing and very upsetting because we want to be good. We want to be liked. We want to think that we're doing good. And yet here we're being told that even though we don't realize it, we're actually being very evil. And yet women are allowed to be as provocative as they want, as we can see in this painting by Bouguereau from, what is this, 1879, called The Birth of Venus. Okay, and so, if you were to criticize a woman for being provocative or sexually aggressive, well, you'd be blaming the victim because you, the man, you're the problem. You're the sexual aggressor. You're the harasser. You're the sexually aggressive one. You're the oppressor, not the woman. If we do object, if we do complain, then, we're torn limb from limb. We're told that we are blaming the victim and that, we are the ones who are at fault. We are the ones who are to blame, as we can see in this engraving by Martin Schongauer from 1470. St. Anthony, the temptation of St. Anthony, where he's being ripped apart by these demons. Okay, that's the way we feel when we're just being natural, we're just being guys, and we're accused of being these sexual predators, these harassers, these misogynists. What? I I didn't. I don't know. You're accusing me, and yet that's the way we feel. Okay, and of course, women are so innocent. Here, another painting from by Bouguereau from about the same time period. I think the 1880s or 1870s. Where this young woman defending herself against Eros. Okay, it's not the woman's fault. She is being attacked by love, who's going to pierce her heart with that arrow. And she's trying to defend herself. She's the innocent one. It's that male figure, that little Cupid. He's the aggressor. He's the one who's attacking her. She's the innocent one. Women, of course, are innocent. Another painting by Bouguereau from about the same time, 1870s. And, I think this is 1878, the Song of the Angels. And so here are these angelic women. How angelic, how innocent. And that's what our culture wants us to believe about women, that they really are the innocent ones. Or here, this woman, this very innocent young woman being beset by love. All these cupids flying around her, attacking her, harassing her, making her into their victim. Wrong. No, women, but our moms are women. They're the paragons of virtue. We listen to women. We obey women. Okay, because they're our moms. In the late 60s and early 1970s, women became feminists, and they began accusing men of being pigs, of being swine. Men are swine. Men are pigs. They're awful. They are the ones who are oppressing women, and they need to have their behavior corrected, even though men are behaving in a very natural way, the way they've been behaving for thousands of years. After we were told, we're in college, and we go out into after we graduate from college, we go out into the real world, and we see that women are behaving very competitively. They're using their bodies to compete for attention, for men's attention. And here in this picture, that woman over on the left, she's a Hooters employee. And that one over on the right, she's a feminist. And so, we men, we we were told to sympathize with and appreciate those feminists like we see on the right, and not those aggressive Hooters women on the left. And yet they're the ones who are competing for our attention. They're the ones who are using their bodies to get ahead in the world. That the philosopher Camille Paglia said, for every male sexual harasser, there are 10 women who are using their bodies to get ahead. And that was my experience. Okay, I would go out to Los Angeles for an art opening, and the women out there in Hollywood, oh my God, they were so aggressive sexually with, men that they thought were wealthy or producers or could do something to get them ahead. And when I stepped into the classroom, the women were very aggressive sexually. In fact, my first year of teaching, I had a woman, the daughter of a trustee, a very attractive, a gorgeous woman who rarely showed up for class, offered sex for a grade. If I would give her an A, she would do whatever I wanted. And, so this idea that women were innocent and that, it was the men who were the sexual aggressors, that was so contrary to my actual experience. And so, what is it? Do you listen to the propaganda, or do you or do you believe what you see with your own lying eyes? You could never criticize women. They're in this painting by Bouguereau called The Heart's Awakening. Women were allowed to be as sexually responsive and as sexually aggressive and provocative as they wanted to be, because with their clothing or with their makeup or their perfume or whatever, because that was their right. They were free to do and behave the way they wanted to. And if men didn't like it, well, they would be penalized. If you blamed the woman, then you were blaming the victim. And men would get sued. Men would get penalized. Okay, their careers would be ruined. They would be condemned, like in this painting by Van Eyck of The Last Judgment. And so I painted this in 1984, this painting called Harassed. And on a symbolic level, it represents what I saw as the reality in my life, where it was actually the women who were the aggressors. They were the harassers, not the men. I was taught that nature was good. And nature was beautiful, as it is in this painting by John Constable from, 1819. Okay, Wivenhoe Park. The beauty, the gorgeousness of nature, of the natural world. I was told that I should not trust nature. I should not trust my natural response. Nature was evil. Nature was hell, as we see in this painting by Hieronymus Bosch from 1490. We men were devils. We were hellish. We were oppressing women. We were creating hell on earth for women just by being natural, just by being ourselves. And that was so contrary to what we were experiencing, what we saw with our own eyes. But women, of course, were allowed to be as open to love and to express love and to gaze longingly into their teacher's eyes or their gallery co-workers' eyes or their fellow artists' eyes as much as they wanted. And they were not at fault. And that was their right. It was we men who were the oppressors. We who were the sexists. We were the misogynists. If we responded to a woman the way she was responding towards us, we would be accused of being sexual predators. And so that's why I painted this picture, because that's what I saw happening. Now, there are men who are criminals, and they need to be institutionalized. But most men, they're just behaving naturally. They're just behaving the way men have behaved for centuries. And yet we're being condemned for it. We're being harassed for it. We're being made to feel guilty for it. We're turned into swine. And who is attacking us? Who is attacking the men? Well, in my painting, women are represented by the birds. In fact, that's kind of a slang term for women, birds. And here they are, these raptors, these white, sort of almost angelic. In fact, in the Bouguereau painting of the angels, they had white wings. So, these are, in a sense, the symbolic women who are attacking the man. Okay, and so they're really like harpies, would tear men limb from limb, steal their food, harass men. And that was the way that women were behaving. And, men would get sued. Men would have their careers destroyed. You'd read about it in the paper. You'd see it on TV. And you'd wonder, what's going on here? Oh, this is so confusing. How can I trust anything anymore? This was the reality that I was expressing with this painting on a symbolic level, using animal imagery to create this narrative painting that I did in 1984. And so this conflict between, what we experience with our own two eyes and what we're told we're experiencing, the term for that is called gaslighting. And that comes from a movie from the 1940s with Charles Boyer and Ingrid Bergman, where, he's trying to convince her that she's insane, that everything that she's seeing, everything that she's experiencing is wrong, is misguided, and that she should give him control of her money. And so that's where the term gaslight comes from. So when our experience of reality is in completely the opposite or completely contradicted by what we're told we're experiencing, that's called gaslighting. And so in our own culture, we are told here from this scene from The Handmaid's Tale, we are told that men are these evil oppressors. I've never been in this situation before. I've never had a whole group of women be obedient to me, to do what I told them, to be sort of like my handmaids. No, in fact, just the opposite. Women are always being very sort of opinionated and aggressive and objecting and arguing and, not at all like this. They were not at all the obedient servants that they are portrayed in this television show. And yet, this is what we are told we are like. This is what we are told is happening. And it is so not like what we experience in reality. Or we are told that men are these studs and, they get what they want and, they ride motorcycles and jet airplanes and they get the gorgeous woman and or actually in this movie, she's the one who's ruling him. She's the one who's after him. And so we have all these gorgeous women chasing us around, using their sexual wiles to capture us and engage us. And, that's not my experience either. Okay, so here we have these two very contradictory views of reality being projected on men by Hollywood. And it's not at all like what we experience. And so this leaves us feeling very confused, very fearful, kind of very upset and anxious, as we can see in this painting by Edvard Munch from 1893. Or, no, 1898, I'm sorry. And, this is a painting called The Scream. And that's what we feel like doing sometimes when we keep being accused of being predators and harassers and misogynists. And, when we were in college, we were taught to be good feminists. We were taught to, yes, women are oppressed. Yes, we have to help women liberate themselves. We have to help them. We can't expect women to be attractive, to be beautiful. No, that's just our male oppression. That's our misogynistic desire. Women don't need to do that. And that's our fault for feeling that should be the case. Women don't have to be any more attractive or beautiful or behave in any way other than the way they want, in the most natural, unappealing way possible. And yet, when we go into the professional world, we see it's just the opposite. Women are very competitive, using their bodies to compete for our attention. Okay, like that woman on the left, from the Hooters woman over on the left versus the feminist over on the right, and because went to college, we became good feminist men. We married women like that one on the right. And yet we would go step out into the professional world, the gallery world or the business world, and we were surrounded by these women like those over on the left who were using their bodies to try to get ahead. And in the classroom, I mean, I guarantee you that they didn't wear much more clothing than this. Okay, women were very aggressive sexually in the classroom. And very aggressive sexually in the gallery world. I'd go out to Los Angeles for a weekend opening, and the women were amazingly aggressive, trying to get ahead in the Hollywood world, using their bodies. And, and this was considered perfectly okay. And if you objected, why, you were some sort of weirdo, some sort of creep. So who was being harassed? Was it the women who were being harassed, or was it the men who were being harassed with sexual aggressiveness, sexual provocation? Who was having their instincts triggered? And we men, we are creatures of nature, and we do have instincts, and they can be triggered. And so when women are deliberately triggering our instincts, who is the harasser here? Who is the guilty one? That we end up feeling very confused, very upset. This illustration is an artificial intelligence creation. And then we feel like screaming, like this in this painting by Francis Bacon from 1953, one of his screaming popes. That's the way we feel, because what we are experiencing in life is so the opposite of what we're being told that we are. We're told that we're being, that we are these devils, these awful, oppressive, misogynists, and yet we're the ones who are being chased. We're the ones who are being beleaguered. We're the ones who are having our instincts triggered. And so that was why I painted this picture, Harassed. I did it in 1984, which symbolically expresses what I saw as the reality of the relationship between men and women. And this takes place in nature. We are governed by nature. So much of our relationship or our relationships, so much of our interaction sexually, interaction between men and women is governed by natural forces, natural instincts. And in the distance, we have this boar, this pig who's being hounded by these birds. And, to me, that's kind of the way it felt, is that the women were actually harassing the men. The women were the ones who were the aggressors. Men would often be penalized, and they would often be punished, eaten alive. I mean, have you ever been through a divorce, a custody battle? I mean, this is what it feels like. Men who have to go through this, 75% of all divorces are filed by women. So they are responsible for most of these court actions. And this is the way it feels when you're in the courtroom, when you're battling for your children or you're battling for your marriage. And this is a painting by Goya from, I think, 1817, of Saturn devouring one of its children. And that's the way you feel. You feel like you're being eaten alive by this culture that accuses you of being the misogynist, of being the structural sexist. In the foreground of this painting, here you have this pig, this swine, this dehumanized creature who is not running away. He's facing that aggressor. He's facing that harasser head on. He may lose. He's not going to run away. And so here's the painting from 1984, Harassed, a symbol of the Me Too movement, because the Me Too movement really does harass men, and it really does victimize men and try to teach men that they are evil. And men are just trying to be normal, trying to be natural, And yet the Me Tooers are telling them that no, they're evil, that they're sexist, that they're structurally sexist, and they need to reform and they need to change. And so is Me Too really gaslighting the American male? Is Me Too, trying to convince men that what they are experiencing is not real and that they should just listen to the women because the women know what's going on and the men should not trust their own lying eyes? Well, this is the painting. Oil on canvas, 40 inches high by 54 inches wide. Now, I promised you an art quiz, and so this is going to be the subject of our art quiz. This painting is called Starry Night. It's by Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh painted this in 1889, about the same time that those paintings that we were reviewing of Bouguereau, the ones with all the cupids and the angels, all those paintings, they were done about the same time this was. And those were the paintings that were valued. In fact, Bouguereau was one of the most financially successful artists of his day. In fact, he's famous for this quote saying that every time I leave the easel, I lose 10,000 francs, which is about $75,000 in today's money. So every time I leave, he says, every time I leave the easel, I lose $75,000. Whereas Van Gogh, who painted this picture, he couldn't sell a painting to save his life. Even though Van Gogh had a brother who was an art dealer, he didn't sell more than 2 paintings in his whole life. He couldn't pay the rent with his paintings. And yet, Bouguereau was just so successful. His paintings were in constant demand. He made tons of money. And yet today, these Van Gogh paintings are worth easily 10 times what the Bouguereaus are worth. This painting itself is a symbol of, the modern world, the modern experience. It's one of the greatest paintings of all time. So the quiz question today is, where is this painting located? If we go to this painting and stand in front of it on a Friday afternoon, there's going to be 20 people deep in front of this picture. It's a very popular painting, a very sought after painting. Where is it located? Write that down on a sheet of paper. You have 5 seconds to write your answer down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, everybody, hold up your answers so everybody can see. Okay, where is this painting located? It's in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. So why is this painting, which is one of the greatest French paintings of all time, why is this painting in New York rather than in somewhere in Europe and somewhere in France? Why is this painting and so many other Impressionist and Post-Impressionist masterpieces in American collections? American industrialists had lots of money, and they were visiting Europe. And when they were in Europe, they bought paintings. They bought the paintings that they liked, and they brought them back to America. Now, in Europe, the aristocracy favored Bouguereau and Lord Leighton, and they disparaged artists like Van Gogh or the Impressionists. And so they're more than happy to let the American collectors buy these Impressionist and Post-Impressionist masterpieces. And that's why today, in America, if you go to the Phillips Collection in Washington, you can see Renoir's Luncheon of the Boating Party. Or you go to New York and see this, Starry Night. Or you can see one of Monet's greatest water lily paintings in the Cleveland Museum of Art. So many of the great Impressionist and Post-Impressionist paintings are in American collections because the Americans had the money and they bought what they liked and not what they were told that they should like. Well, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for participating in my art quiz and listening to me talk about my painting, Harassed, why I painted it, what it means to me today, and what it meant to me years ago.
If you like this video, be sure to subscribe, like, and share.
And don't forget to ring the bell.